Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. We are back today with a lot of news, as always. Welcome to the new week. Of course, on Friday we left you off with a ton of Green Lantern casting choices, fan theories. There's almost an infinite amount, of course, to discuss, and I'm sure we're going to get into that today and the rest of the week. But today specifically, we have some news from James Gunn talking about which project is going to be next after Superman in the new DCU. Of course, we also have some more details from the Penguin, which is about to release in 10 days. 10 days away. We're counting down. And Matt Reeves has been doing lots of interviews. And, ahead of that, we've got a new sneak peek at the Penguin. We're going to dive into that as well. Of course, there's some other news from the world of DC, like the previous Supergirl giving some advice to the new Supergirl on how to do their best with the role of, and so we're going to dive into that as well. And we had to talk about, of course, Blue Beetle coming back to movie theaters near you for Hispanic Heritage Month that starts up in about a week's time. So to do that and so much more, even beyond that, let's bring in John. As always, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's just kind of I love how, like, whenever it's like, oh, we're gonna talk about stuff, let's talk about stuff, and then it's like, oh, there's like nothing, and then like, oh, we're about to go live, and I feel like James Gunn secretly is like, give them all the fucking news right now. And then we just get onslaughted with news, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, sure. I mean, we could work with it, but like, goddamn, James Gunn, do you have like do you just have like a vendetta against us, or like you're just trying to keep us on our toes? Like, what's going on here? But I mean, I'm cool with it. Like, I don't mind, but like, damn, all right.
No, I mean, hey, you know what? I do think that he watches us and says, "Hey, let me trip these guys up a little bit if I can." Um, but regardless of what James Gunn's intentions may or may not be, Ray J in the chat, how are you doing today, my dude? Let me say hello. Hi. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the show. So, John, there's lots to talk about. We're gonna start off with some of the smaller stuff that we want to get into, and then we're gonna dive into more about Penguin coming out in about 10 days, and we have lots to talk about from Peacemaker as well. So let's get
Mhm.
things started with Sasha Calle. So, of course, it's only been like a year now, a little over a year, I guess. Well, yeah, it's been over a year since The Flash came out, and Sasha Calle was, of course, famously cast in the role of Supergirl, and now, she's no longer gonna be Supergirl because we, of course, have Millie Alcock taken over in the new DCU. So recently, Sasha was on, as you can see on the screen there, she was on a red carpet for an event, and IndieWire asked her, "Hey, do you have any advice for the new Supergirl?" Of course, a proverbial question: How would you ask? How would you have them, take on the role, which a lot of people have a lot of high expectations for? And Sasha simply said, "Hey, just effing kill it." I mean, John, what do you think about this advice? Pretty simple yet sage advice, or do you
Yeah,
think there's any more to it than
I don't
that?
know. I just feel like there's like a running gag for a lot
Yeah.
of like superhero roles where the previous person warns the next person, hey, make sure you can like fucking take a piss in it. Take a piss in the goddamn costume. Cause I know that was Christian Bale's. I think that might have been Andrew Garfield's for Tom Holland. I remember there being a bunch of them. And they're like, yeah, make sure you can fucking go to the bathroom in it. But yeah, I always like that. But yeah, no, it's just like whether she's just being nice or she actually means it, it's cool being like, hey, I might not have this anymore, but you know what? I hope the next gal does a even better job than me. You're gonna kill it. Hope to God you kill it. You're gonna do it. So like that's I don't know. That's just kind of cool. It is kind of I do feel kind of bad because it's like she was like one of the few good parts of this fucking god awful fucking movie. But like no matter what they were gonna do, it was never gonna be good. And she was always gonna kind of be stuck like that. But it's a bit of a shame. But like I hope she gets like another chance at maybe another character someday. Maybe not Supergirl, but somebody else. You know. So I do hope for that. Like, and it's nice that she's just like, you know what, just do your best, man. If you're good, you're bad. Just fucking, just kill it. Yeah. So I think that's the best possible advice. Whether it's a joke or genuine, it's always fun to see actors pass the torch.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you've got a situation here where Sasha was pretty popular with a lot of even the people who didn't necessarily like the movie, they thought that she was good in the role. She was one of the highlights of the film. So for her to, have only had a very short stint, I think in hindsight, when we look back at this years from now, she will be like, I'm sure like not necessarily the same thing like with the Nick Cage Superman, but kind of in the same realm of like years from now when we have a Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of crossover, kind of like the Marvel Civil War scenario, not Civil War, Secret War scenario. We're gonna have a situation where Sasha Calle Supergirl is gonna come on screen, and a bunch of people are gonna know what that means, and then a bunch of the younger people are gonna be like, "Who is that? She was Supergirl back in the day." Yeah, for like literally a flash, no pun intended,
Ah,
but
you
or
meant
maybe I did.
no, you meant that on purpose. Don't act like that wasn't on purpose. Get out of here with that. Come on now.
Uh, okay, I guilty as charged. But guys, let us know in the comments what you think about the advice that Sasha Kaya has for Millie Alcock. Just go kill it. It's just pretty simple, keeping it simple, and wishing her the best. Which, they're going to be starting to film the movie next year. It's not that far away. The script is already done, and of course, the director is probably working on casting the rest of the movie beyond just our lead character. So, with that in mind, let's move on to our next story. We do have to talk about Blue Beetle, another movie from last year, the dying embers of the DCEU. Unfortunately, because I think this movie deserved a lot better than what it got, especially the box office. But Blue Beetle was to Hispanic audiences in a lot of ways what Wonder Woman was for the female audiences watching a superhero movie led by a female
Mhm.
superhero. It's the same as what Black Panther meant to African American audiences, or just
No, we're gonna talk about Blade because Blade. I'm sick of Blade
I'm
erasure.
just
No,
saying.
Blade did it first. All right, I don't want this Blade erasure. He's Marvel Daddy. None of this shit wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for Blade. So I'm just saying. I know Black Panther was a huge touchstone for Black audiences. Yes, but we have to include Blade in that conversation as well because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have an MCU. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
It's fair.
I'm not mad.
Hey.
I'm just disappointed. Okay. Here you go.
Fair enough. But okay, so the point I was trying to make is much like what Wonder Woman, Blade, and Black Panther have meant for audiences in the past, whether you're just a woman looking for more representation in a comic book movie, where you might have been used to watching Avengers movies where all you have is Black Widow. You now had Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman. You had, of course, Chadwick Boseman playing Black Panther. You had Blade, whether we're gonna get a Marshall Ali Blade or not, it doesn't matter. But you did have Wesley Snipes for 3 movies. Similarly, you had Jaime Reyes, of course, Xolo Maridueña playing Blue Beetle last year. I watched this movie and couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was a fantastic little movie, and calling it little is a bit of a misnomer, because the movie is bigger than maybe what its budget was ultimately. Because if you
Mhm.
remember, this movie was originally meant to be a HBO Max straight to streaming film, and then they were like, "We're gonna pump a few more millions into this because it looks really good." Basically the opposite treatment of what they did to Batgirl, where they were like, "Oh no, this looks bad. Shut it down. Let's get a tax rebate." Whereas with Blue Beetle, they were like, "No, we're gonna give it more money and let's get this out in a movie theater." So Warner Brothers were firmly behind it. James Gunn has said that Xolo Maridueña is going to come back in in the role of Blue Beetle in the DCU. He's one of the few actors, and jumping across to the new universe. Now, Blue Beetle, as you can see on screen, is re-releasing at AMC theaters from September 20th to the 26th in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. John, I know that you watched this movie last year, and while you might not have been the biggest fan, you did enjoy it, I believe. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on just again having a week in September later this month to be able to go back to a movie theater and just enjoy this movie on the big screen again?
I would love to because, like, I feel like, yeah, it could have been better, but the fact that it achieved what it managed to achieve despite this, I think it was still a really solid movie. And I think years, who could have done the role, but I feel like he was just, and I liked how they nailed like Hispanic culture as well. Um, That was, like, a big thing. I know a lot of people made fun of it because it was like, "Oh, it's family heavy." It's like Fast and Furious. It's like, okay, Fast and Furious doesn't have a cornerstone on, like, family culture. It's like Hispanic.
I don't have friends. I got family.
I'm just saying they don't have the cornerstone like Hispanic culture, Italian culture as well, but that kind of goes hand in hand. Like they have like that is a very like familial culture. So like the fact that they nailed that very well was like definitely a important part as well. So I really liked that. I love the suit. It was practical but enhanced with CGI. That's what it should be. Not trying to reinvent the wheel and it's just simple, then it's sometimes just a hell of a lot better. So, you know what? I'll take it. And even though it's not the greatest thing ever, I still think it's a really solid movie. And,
Yeah,
you know, good job
yeah.
on all of them.
I I th-
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
a brilliant film. I don't know how much of this movie's events are going to play into the story of Blue Beetle and of Jaime Reyes in the DCU. What I do hope is that we get to see not just Jaime Reyes, Joel Maridueña, but also the rest of the family come across, because of course, um, I think the fit would be perfect in Booster Gold. You can even have him kind of like what the Watcher was saying in the chat. You can kind of tie him up with the Teen Titans, which we know Ana Noguera, who wrote Supergirl, is also writing the script for a Teen Titans movie potentially. So it would be perfect. I think it would be a great way to sort of like, have Blue Beetle be integrated into the new DCU and to have this movie back out in the movie theater for a week. It's not a ton of time. It's kind of like similar to the Superman, the
Hmm.
Christopher Reeve story, the documentary, which is getting a limited release across the world and, different countries where you can go watch it for a couple of days, for a few screenings here and there, but just enough so that people can get a chance to see it on a big screen. Similarly, Blue Beetle, if you enjoyed it, if you didn't get a chance to see it in a movie theater and you want to go see it on the big screen, then September 20 to the 26th, if you have an AMC near you, check out their listings because for Hispanic Heritage Month they will have Blue Beetle back on as part of their AMC Fan Fave series, and you can go get your tickets from the link, which DC Film News does a great job of collecting this information, so do check them out on Threads and you can find out where to get your AMC tickets for the movie. Highly recommend it. Go support the film. It certainly deserved every piece of business that it did at the box office, and hopefully
Hmm.
it will be able to rack up a little bit more in the coming weeks. With that said, John, let's keep going here. We do have so much more to talk about. Of course, the the big story that was on the thumbnail and part of the title of this video has to do with James Gunn talking about essentially what is going to be the next
Right.
project, and of course spoiler alert, Peacemaker, what is going to be the next big project after Superman, what follows Superman as the next story that the DC was going to tell. We know that they had Waller in production for a while, but Waller is a show that was originally meant to follow right after Superman, but because of the strike or the strikes, the multiple strikes in Hollywood last year, it delayed production and development on that series. So at this point, their scripts are not ready and far enough along that they can bring it to screen in time for Superman's release. So what they've done is they've sort of switched gears and said, okay, Peacemaker is going to be a direct follow up to Superman, and now James Gunn has of course confirmed that. John, what do you think about the idea that Superman is going to leave us, wherever it does at the end of the story, and then Peacemaker is going to pick up the ball and just take us right from there on? And does that mean we're gonna get some crossover? Obviously, we are getting Frank Grillo's character, Rick Flag Sr. in both projects. But beyond just his character, do you think there's any other story threads, any other crossovers, or any other potential like loose threads that are going to be left open after Superman that Peacemaker can follow through on? Or do you think Peacemaker will still be pretty isolated, kind of like the first season was, where it was a follow up to the Suicide Squad, but it didn't really do a ton to kind of tie
Right.
itself to that project? It was sort of standalone. You can watch Peacemaker and not like feel like you missed the Suicide Squad. What do you think? How do you think that this reshapes how we look at the second season of Peacemaker?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna like follow up anything. Um Maybe it's a little bit reactionary to Superman, like and like Peacemaker, like obviously it's a new Peacemaker. It's not the same Peacemaker. It's or this like similar things happen, but not the same things happened. And so, I don't think it's gonna like be like a follow, but just gonna be the next project. I think maybe we're gonna have like a couple things that leak over, but nothing like too crazy. Like we're not gonna have like a major like it's not gonna be a sequel or even a spiritual successor. I think it's just gonna be the next project. We're gonna have some sorry. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. It's really late over here. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but yeah, I think I don't think it's gonna be like a direct follow up. I think it just be like, hey, this is the next thing. Maybe like a reactionary to Superman, like this Peacemaker's reaction to Superman. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be anything major. But I'm still I wouldn't say I'm excited for it because I mean the first season was just kind of fine. It wasn't like great or anything. So um yeah, it'll be a fun time, but it's just kind of funny how Superman is like sandwiched in between like comedy driven shows and it's just like, huh, that's interesting. But yeah, I'm yeah, I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, I am too because it's going to be very interesting to see how it all works
Yeah.
together. What I will say is, of late, this is interesting, right? Of late, we have been seeing copyright takedowns across YouTube and other social media, where basically Warner Brothers doesn't want to get like Do you remember that mural on the wall with Peacemaker and like two other characters, his dad's character and maybe a third mystery character, where we
Hmm.
saw like the eagle was flipped or whatever, like and then it looked like it was okay. Are we getting a different costume design? Is this a spoiler? That image, wherever it was, Warner Brothers has been going around doing DMCA takedowns, and so like if you if you covered it and if your video got taken down, if your post got taken down, and you got a notice, I think that leads me to believe, hey, that Warner Brothers is trying to hide something because it's rare that you see something like such a concerted effort in today's world because they take a look at things like this and be like, it's promotion, any promotion is good promotion. But we recently got some confirmation that well, we might be onto something with that reversed eagle image. So this, of course, is Sol Rodriguez, who's been cast as, if I remember correctly, Sasha Bordeaux,
Yep.
right? In the
Yep.
new Peacemaker season, and she here is wearing a hat that has the eagle in the other direction. So it looks like
It's a
we do have
dove, not
a.
an eagle,
It's a
by the way.
dove.
It's a
I'm
dove.
sorry. You should have corrected me earlier. What's wrong with you?
Well,
Um.
it was funny at first, but then I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta correct
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? It's a flip logo. What do you think this means? Does this mean the other Peacemaker is sort of like a variant, to use a Marvel term? I guess I don't know. Does that mean that we're gonna eventually meet? Have one of those Peacemaker point like meme moments where there's
I
John
don't
Cena
think
pointing at
so.
John Cena pointing at John
I
Cena.
think James Gunn pretty much confirmed at this point that we're not going to get anything. We're not going to get multiversal shenanigans. It just doesn't seem that way because I think it would just be too confusing. It's already confusing enough that it's a different continuity, even though the events kind of happen the same. Then, so I don't think that's the case. Fuck, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's very warm in here too. That doesn't help matters. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
open this
literally
up.
putting you to sleep. Cowabunga, he says, I'm late. Who's the girl with the hat? That's Sol Rodriguez, Kawa. She's going to be playing Sasha Bordeaux in the new Peacemaker series. And of course, James Gunn has this tendency to use organic social media to get all these nuggets of information out in the world. Outside of like that Superman image that we have gotten, we really haven't gotten much of anything else that is an official image from anything that's currently ongoing in production. He usually either posts something on social media with his like behind the scenes photos of the helmet, or like some person posts, a image of a shirt or a hat in this instance. John, do you think this is just another one of those situations where James Gunn is like, sure, go ahead, wear that hat, post it on social media, let the people go flood the DC shop website, and basically sell out this new Peacemaker logo hat? I mean, it's clever, but do you think this is on purpose or was this just by accident?
I don't know. It's hasn't been deleted yet. He hasn't come after anybody just yet, so
Yeah,
we'll see. But you know, we'll see.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be interesting though. Like the Watcher said, bringing in Argus and Checkmate to Peacemaker season 2. Do you think they also will retitle the
I
Peacemaker
think
as
I
Caleb
think so.
suggested?
It would be fucking hilarious if it was the Peacemaker. That would be so funny. And I feel like that's something James Gunn would do. However, I could also see them doing like a really dumb title, like uh Peacemaker, the DCU canon one, we swear, or something like that. Just like a really dumb, or like untitled Peacemaker reboot or something like that. Just just something silly, just something ridiculous. I don't think this is gonna be a variant, but because like why would it be it's a new continuity. This is technically a new version of the character, so why would that happen? So
Yeah, I mean, also Ray J makes a good point that James Gunn has said in the past. Now, again, this is one of those things where Kevin Feige and Marvel, they were sort of like, oh, yeah, this new Daredevil is sort of, we're going to pick and choose. But now they're like, no, everything is canon. So it's a slippery slope, right? But like, if you go off of what Ray J is saying, and James Gunn has said this, that, hey, it's basically the same thing, except that Justice League thing didn't happen, you know?
yeah.
But everything else is canon. And not so many words, but, basically implying that that was the case. Do you feel like that's the direction that we're gonna go in here, or is there gonna be, as we go further into the season, we're gonna find out there's more things that didn't happen in because that's where the confusion will happen, right? Like if you're
Mhm.
like, okay, you're looking back at the first season episodes and some things aren't the same, you might be wondering, oh, wait, his dad is still alive, for example, or like he has a brother, or like I don't know. I mean, you can always do something that you didn't do, like or you can reveal something that wasn't previously revealed, like John Cena being the long lost brother of Vin Diesel in the not 10th, the ninth Fast and Furious movie. If they do something like that, but if there's some kind of contradiction, that's really where people will get confused. Like something that happened in season 1 is no longer true in season 2. Do you feel like we're headed in the direction of people are going to have to deduce what was canon versus what was not, or is James Gunn pretty much saying it's all canon? Like where are we headed with this?
Um, I don't know. It's just like I feel like here's the thing. Because you could go a lot of different ways with it. You could like play it up for comedy, which I think that would be the best course of action. But then there's also James Gunn being like, although I will say, in order to like keep it like, um, that would be funny. That I think that could be funny, but like he's the only one that remembers. Like Psycho Pirate is the only one that remembers Crisis. That would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I think what would be really uh cool if like they do like a proper recap, like, oh, this is
Hmm.
what happened in season 1, like most pretty much all shows do, even if they're like on streaming or something. Oh, this is what happened, to catch you up if you don't remember, blah blah blah. And then they show the Justice League scene, but it's like just Superman, and it's like the same exact scene. It's like filmed the same way. It's like, but it's just Superman being like, "Hey, what happened here?" And he's like, "You're fucking too late, you fucking Boy Scout. Get the fuck out of my way." And then it's just like Peacemaker going through getting Amelia to the hospital, and like something like that. I think like, but like everything else is the same, and it's like just because that's really the only thing that would cause like any sort of problem. I think because it's like everything else is like, oh yeah, you could just like kind of explain that away. um and like, oh, the events of Suicide Squad, it happened the same way. Oh, this happened the same way. It's just a new universe. Because a lot of people don't remember is like the multiverse theory. The whole actual multiverse theory, because it's an actual scientific theory that there are alternate worlds, is that most of them would be the same. Because the whole basis is like every time you make a decision, a new Earth is formed. So many of the worlds would essentially be the same life, but it's just slightly tweaked. I believe the show Counterpart with J.K. Simmons also covered this. How like for the most part that they are the same men. It's just one became a pencil pusher and one became a hitman. But it's just like the core of their characters, like like how I think like one of the early episodes, I think like the second episode, he was like going through his closet, like, oh yeah, I remember buying this tie, and like just like little things like that, where it's like, so that's what I think that they're kind of doing here. They're using the multiverse theory, but not in the bonkers sense like that they've been doing, which is more fun. Like, oh, the Justice League is evil. The Justice League is all pets. It's like that kind of that's like the multiverse stuff we like to see. But this, I think, could really showcase the idea of like the multiverse. Yes, we do have all these strange Earths where it's like, what if we were evil? What if we were this? What if we were that? When it's just like, oh, it's essentially the DCEU Earth, but like slightly tweaked, where history is like slightly changed, that this Superman came forth in the early 2020s maybe, and instead of 2013. It's like, and then like things were tweaked, but like a lot of the stuff stayed the same. That could be an interesting way to do it, I think. So yeah, I think that would be really fun. And I think but you could also still use that for comedic effect as well. Like it's just
Yeah.
like kind of like it reminds me of like 22 Jump Street, where they were making fun of the fact that the movie is the same one all over again. It's like, oh, yep, it turns out it was like this from this case a couple years ago. You know,
No,
exactly the
well, that was
same.
the whole. It was just a parody of a sequel. Like they were
No, I
literally
know
like,
that's what I'm saying, but like I'm saying you could like do that where
yeah,
it's like where it's like, but use it in like a multiverse sense where it's like, yeah, this is just the same thing. Like maybe try to have like a meta commentary if you can,
yeah,
obviously. Um, so like you can be like, oh yeah, this thing's happening the same. Oh, this thing happened the same. This thing happened the same. This thing happened the same. And then it's just like, oh, that's very interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna go for like multiverse shenanigans because it's like everybody's doing multiverse shenanigans now, and it's just like it's another thing to add on. I don't think they're gonna do that.
yeah.
It's just like it's too ridiculous at this point.
I
So I
mean, just
think
yeah,
they're just gonna just kind of keep it as basic as is, while maybe having some tweaks here and there. But that's it.
yeah.
I don't think they're gonna do anything major. That could be a good title, Peacemaker reboot. I
Rebooted.
still want it to be the
Yeah,
Peacemaker. The Peacemaker would be so funny.
the Peacemaker. It's just because of course John Cena is a former wrestler or still a current. He's got a lifetime deal with the WWE. But anyway, I'm just like the Peacemaker versus the Undertaker or something. I don't know. It just goes together. He's here to make peace at all costs
Yeah,
or
I'm gonna
making
kill every
peace.
woman, man,
Yeah.
woman, and child to get what I want. Yeah,
Making peace one, I don't know,
death at a time.
death at a time, whatever. Um, what would you call the second season? Would you call it Peacemaker season 2? Simple as that. Would you give it a Peacemaker, the DCU version, or Peacemaker? He's mirror universe. I don't know, because it's also one of those things where if you do go with the counterpart theory, I'm like, then which is the prime version? Is it the one from the DCEU? Because you get the primacy effect of the one you saw first. You imagine is the original. You'll then it will
Technically,
always
none of
make
it's the
the
technically the comic book version is the original. That's how I do it. Is
but that's
like
not how most people will see it.
no, that's not
People
how
are gonna
most. I'm just
remember.
saying how I do it is
I'm
like
just
the
saying.
comic
I'm just
book
saying.
version is the prime universe. Everything else is an else. Every adaptation we've ever gotten is an Elseworld story. That's how
Yeah.
I imagine it. Which kind of sucks because the comic books kind of fucking blow right now, but like that's how I envision that. Oh my, Caleb, you're just filled with great ideas. We need to, you gotta like make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, man, because you have some of the best ideas we've ever had on this show. So keep throwing them in there. That would be even better. Would be like fucking piece this, like just like just and have like a dove censoring the fuck, just fucking piece this, and and then season 3 is fucking piece that, and then it's just like I don't know, it's just fucking stupid.
I mean,
Exactly,
Hugo
which is
Millie.
what Peacemaker
Yeah.
is.
I mean, Hugo Millie also pointing out that the recent run of Peacemaker has been pretty solid. So you could pull
Yeah, I
story
know
threads
Garth
from
Ennis
there.
did a one shot a couple years ago,
Yeah.
right before I think the Suicide Squad came out. So I heard that was good, which is funny because Garth
Now,
Ennis hates superheroes.
I was gonna pivot to asking you a little bit more about, of course, the hat here is being worn by Sol Rodriguez, who's going to be playing Sasha Bordeaux. Can you give us a little bit more of an idea of what that character is potentially going to bring to the show, and maybe how you think they can potentially connect her to the events of Superman? How does Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. kind of play into this? Is she connected to, of course, Amanda Waller in any way? What is her character's role? And also just the casting alone. I don't think we really talked too much about her, being cast in the role
Yeah.
of Sasha Bordeaux.
Yeah, Sasha Bordeaux is seen as sort of I think she was like the bodyguard for Bruce Wayne at first,
Yeah,
and then she became part of the Bat family. And then, I mean, it depends on the version, but she's also seen as the leader of Argus, and I think Checkmate as at some point, but it's mainly Argus. So I think peace off. That's funny. Yeah, I think it's mainly Argus, and then she's seen as the leader as an agent, but also the leader. So I'm curious how this is because it's like, is Amanda Waller? Because if it's like, okay, if they're like following the similar events, well, her daughter fucking ratted her out, so,
right. So
and
she's gonna be in what,
so
prison? If
she
that's
would
where
she
we
go to prison? But the thing
right.
is, in Creature Commando, she's not in prison. She's still like the head of Argus. So I'm curious if like maybe Creature Commandos happened like before Peacemaker, like this happened in like in this universe that is in like the DCU version of Peacemaker season 1. Did Creature Commandos happen before that? And then after that, she gets arrested, and then Waller has her like take place in prison. But like during Peacemaker season 2, she's no longer the leader of Argus, and it's Sasha Bordeaux. I'm curious. Yeah. So Peacemaker's brother is still alive is also a Peacemaker, so you call it Peacemakers. Yeah, like the aliens. Does that mean season 3 is going to be called Peacemaker 3, and then Peacemaker Resurrection, Peacemaker
Then
versus Peacemaker, Peacemaker versus
Peacemaker
Peacemaker
versus Peacemaker
Requiem,
Requiem. I was gonna go. Yep, exactly. And then
and then
Peacemaker
fucking
Romulus. I don't
peace,
know.
and then like
Or the
or
Peacemaker
like
eventually. Yeah.
Peacemaker Theus, and then Peacemaker Covenant, Peacemaker Romulus. Yeah,
Prometheus, Peacemaker, Prometheus. That would be funny if that's essentially what they did, like just kind of literally riff on a franchise where it's
and then
completely
the
very thinly wailed.
by the way, to the other comment for the guy who's on coke, that character's called Snowflame. We love Snowflame here. Snowflame, greatest DC character of all time. Uh, but yeah, coke for his
Yeah.
powers to work. That is Snowflame. I don't know who the other guy is, but
I mean, he
so
was
yeah.
suggesting teenage Deathstroke, maybe.
Ew, no.
Uh, Caleb's got more ideas. Well, not ideas, but necessarily he's just kind of explaining again for those of us who are not aware.
Right.
Sasha Bordeaux is considered the Black Queen of Checkmate. She's
Hmm.
second in command to Waller, so of course Waller will be, in this world. So we were talking about exactly where her character, Sol Rodriguez's character, fits into the picture.
Hmm.
And so with Waller potentially being kicked out of Argus at the end of the previous Peacemaker season, and maybe she's in prison, that would make sense that maybe Sasha Bordeaux's character sort of takes over. And so maybe that's where we find things at the beginning of the show. But I mean, John, let's just be honest here. This is just becoming a pattern with James Gunn now. It's very thinly veiled, and we all see it now. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's a barely disguised. This image is from you, so you suggesting this, I think, is pretty accurate because when you look at the cast of Superman, and then you look at, of course, where we're headed with this.
Superman, the Suicide Squad, everything, you know, James Gunn just has a deep love for Hispanic women. I'm not complaining, but like I'm just saying, bro, like it's not like it's not subtle, you know? I'm just saying. Sol Rodriguez, Maria Gabriela de Ferreira, I believe her name was, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniela Melchior in the Suicide
Mm-hmm.
Squad. You had the Cat
Yeah.
Grant. She's Hispanic. The new Cat Grant's Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not complaining, but it's like, bro, like, don't. He's not even trying to hide it. Like, okay,
It's
we
it's
see you, but like, damn,
yeah.
bro, calm down. Keep it in your pants. Does Jen know about this? Like, come on now. I mean,
uh
Hispanic Heritage Month. Apparently, that's James Gunn's favorite month now. So, like, I'm not knocking the man. Like, he's got good taste, but like, sweet baby Jesus, like, come on now. I can't. Okay, don't fucking like
it's
look at me like that. Don't give me an
I'm
awkward
just
silence. All right, I'm
I'm
just
I,
saying.
I'm trying to find comments in the chat, man. I'm not
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can't see me.
I just love how the internet has caught on to that trend. Like, how many? It's like I remember when that was, John Cena was going viral. This is probably even before social media was really as much of a thing, and now the world just can't see John Cena. But yet somehow we're getting a second season of Peacemaker. Peacemaker, peace out. That would be
Mm.
like maybe that's the final season of Peacemaker. Maybe that's where. But then, I mean, unless if they call it this, then I'd be worried for John Cena's, future with the DCU. Peacemaker, peace out. Um, I don't think James Gunn needs to worry about anything like that, and I think um, it's all good there. But the Watcher says she's perfectly cast in the role. Sasha Calle is Brazilian, but
That's what I was trying to insinuate. Caleb just like knocking it out of the park once again. I'm just saying, it's right there. She's right there. He's right there. It's like, hello, sir. I'm sure he loves her very much, and I wish them many years of happiness. I'm just saying,
I don't think
he's
this is
not
gonna be a
subtle.
problem. I do remember her from Picard season 2. I was like, she looks familiar, and this is from Picard
Yeah, that
season
was
2.
the
She's
character that Santiago Cabrera was like
yeah.
wanted to clap them cheeks. That's what that. And then there was like a whole thing
Okay,
with ice, I think, right? Where
right.
they go and
It,
because they went back in time and like
yeah, they were basically in the present day trying to
yeah, and
like
it was
solve some problem. I forget, and then
yeah,
he
it was
decides to stay
they
back.
like tried to do like a
Yeah,
fucking Star Trek voyage home, but it like didn't fucking work.
yeah.
And then season
Okay.
3 was essentially so season 2 of Picard was next gen's fucking Star Trek 4 The Voyage Home, and then season 3 was Star Trek 2 The Wrath of Khan, but
Pretty
for
much
but for
the
TNG.
next
Like, all right,
generation.
you know
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
Take what
Hey,
works, you know. I
it's
mean,
all
the show
good. It's
did
all
work.
good.
It sucked up until season 3, but like,
I mean, okay, look, I will defend season 1. I thought it was good. Season 3 was still my favorite, but the nostalgia bait works for me because I'm a big TNG fan. But hey, we got Sasha Bordeaux,
anyway,
Sol
sorry.
Rodriguez in the role. We've got at least 2 different helmets in this new season. Whether you want to
Mhm.
call it Peacemaker season 2, Peacemaker Peace Out, Peacemaker,
Fucking
Peacemaker
piece this.
Peace This. I think Peacemaker Peacemaker
Peacemaker
in lieu.
rebooted, untitled Peacemaker reboot, whatever it is called. I just hope they don't just fucking call it Peacemaker, and it's just like it's still called. That's just one. It's a little confusing, and two, guys, like, come on, it's like, come on, you gotta use like, for instance, it reminds me of a story where, like the original, like when Back to the Future was being filmed with Eric Stoltz, and they were like, let's give him a costume where he'll fit in the 50s. So there's like not like, like any what's the not aberration, what's um there's a certain word for like it was used in Legends of Tomorrow. I forget, but it was like so it doesn't like cause anything fucked up with the timeline. But
Oh, like okay, sorry. I know that Marvel has a thing for it. What do they call it? Like when you call I don't know, like maybe you cause a disrotation. I don't know what do they call it. I was
yeah,
gonna say
not dissertation. I
dissertation,
don't
but
know. I'll figure it out.
that's not it.
It'll be
That's
like a
not it. Some
eureka
kind of
moment later on. But
crack in the timeline or something.
um,
It's yeah,
yeah, like cracks in the timeline. Anyway,
yeah.
so but then when Eric Stoltz was fired, and then they finally got Michael J. Fox, they're like, why don't we have him wear something 80s essential, and then people in the 50s fucking make fun of it. Like, that's a whole nother like can of comedy that you can fucking go for there. And so they did. And you know what? The movie was even better because then you had that running gag of like, fucking this dork is wearing a fucking life preserver. Oh, you're in the Coast Guard. Like, you had all these great lines, and it's just because like they put him in a fucking puffy vest, and it's really funny. So interesting terminology, but sure. But yeah, I just think that they need to go for that, like really push the comedy as far as it can go and then push it further, you know? Like James Gunn's been doing comedy since, I mean, he was originally a trauma guy. Like he was, and that's about as like fucked up comedy as you could possibly get. So it's like, come on, James Gunn, reach deep, get into those comedy roots, just fucking go for it. Like I just personally, I just think that that would be really funny.
Yeah. So more fun titles coming. War and
Anachronism.
Peacemaker. And
Anachronism. That's what I'm going for.
that's such
Yes,
a that's not a very that doesn't roll off the tongue,
it doesn't.
right?
That's why
It
it
doesn't.
took. But that's what they were called in Legends of Tomorrow when like people were like displaced, people and
Yeah,
things were like displaced in time. They were going after anachronisms. That's why I was like trying to think of that. Anyway, so that's what
makes
I got.
sense.
Eureka. Anyway,
Eureka.
would have bothered me.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, we do have to talk about a few other things.
Mhm.
First thing I want to get into. This is now we're gonna move on to talking about the Penguin. So Peacemaker, let us know in the comments if you guys think this show is gonna be the best show that DC has ever done. I think for a lot of people, the first Peacemaker was probably one of the best things DC has ever done. Is the second season gonna top that? Is it gonna be worse? Is it going in a completely different direction? What do you think about it? Are you more excited about it now that we know that it is the very next thing that comes in after the Superman movie? So let us know in the comments, of course, and hit that like button if you haven't already. As Man of
Canary,
Magnolia
cry
said,
that like button,
Canary,
bitches or
cry that
punks.
like button.
Punks,
The
anyway. Yeah.
punks. Come on, John. Let's roll it back
We're
here.
way past that point. I mean, come on now. Anyway, the Penguin.
The Penguin. So Matt Reeves has now confirmed, and I mean honestly, I don't know why he has confirmed this because
Because he's an
I'm like, do
idiot.
you not want people to watch the TV show? Because I'm like, there's more of a chance that people will be like, oh, there's no Batman in this, I can skip it.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, the idea should be, oh, it's from the world of the Batman, go see it. And
Batman
when
Epic
somebody
Crime
says,
Saga. It's in the name. So,
exactly,
you know.
Bex, like, and then if they say, "Oh, if somebody asks you is the Batman in it?" You're like, you'll have to, you'll have to just watch it to find
Yeah, just
out.
you
Whereas,
gotta watch it.
like it's you just check it
Waste,
out.
8 hours of your life. Fucking watch it.
But Matt Reeves, of course, being the creative genius that he is, says Rob is not going to be in that show. I'd rather take the Band-Aid off now, which I mean they
You're a
capitalized
fucking
Band-Aid. I'm like,
moron.
come on. I don't get that. It's just I mean, and this is from a Games Radar interview. So he confirms essentially saying we're not gonna get the Batman or Bruce Wayne in this. Now, I will say this, there's still potentially some room for interpretation. Because
Yeah.
think about it, right? Think about this. Remember in the first Suicide Squad movie, there was maybe one or two shots where Ben Affleck was actually there, but there was a lot of action sequences where he was going after the Joker and Harley Quinn and stuff, where it was just a stuntman. Ben Affleck probably shot one, maybe two shots in the whole movie,
Mm.
but the rest of it was just literally a stuntman playing Batman. My thing is maybe, just maybe, we're getting a little bit of, thrown off the mark. Maybe this is a bit of a red herring. Maybe Matt
I
Reeves
mean,
knows what he's
Andrew
doing.
Garfield lied for a fucking year about that man deserved an Oscar for lying for a fucking year about not being in No Way Home. So you know what? I mean, anything's possible. So I think he means it because he's very like, oh, I'm a creative genius. I'm not gonna exactly. Boom. There you go. So um people will have any excuse to fucking jump off of something like, oh, Joker 2, it's gonna be musical. Penguin, oh, no Batman. Like, I understand, like, I care because, like, I like the world building. I like the world of these. Well, I don't love this world, but like, I like the world, like the worlds that like these things accompany. Like, I like the world building. And Colin Farrell's a great actor, and I like this iteration of the Penguin. I want to see how it goes. So even though he kind of failed with the Riddler a bit, I want to see this as an iteration because I feel like this core gets the iteration of the Penguin. So like I like that. And but the thing is you're gonna have a lot of people where it's like they want to see one thing. They want to see fucking Batman. They don't want to see Batman fucking, but they want to see fucking Batman. So, that's what I mean. He's the second most popular comic book character ever created, only behind Spider-Man. Like he's the most popular DC one, but he's the second in the fucking world. So like people want to see Batman. Like Batman brings the money in. Like in terms of spin-offs, what have we gotten? We've gotten Joker, but Joker is just as popular as Batman. So that was a fluke.
Right.
Maybe Joker Folie Do is not going to
Maybe
follow
the
suit.
exception to the rule, not necessarily a fluke,
Yeah,
but
like a
exception to the
fucking
rule.
Catwoman. Look how that fucking turned out. So, it's like, I mean, obviously we'll see, but like sometimes this shit doesn't work out. So like, and you're gonna want to have they will give it because the thing is, in this day and age when you have so much content, it's not like you go to the movies where it was like back in the 70s where you had like three options. You had like Grease, Superman, and Halloween. That's like the three movies you could watch. And they would be in fucking theaters for like 6 months and then like second rate theaters in for like 4 months. So that's not how it is anymore. It's just not. So there are people like okay, great, he's not in it, then I don't care. I'll watch Batman. I mean, you shouldn't, but you should. I'm like, I'm gonna go watch Batman King Crusader. I'm gonna go watch reruns of the Batman or like the Batman TV show, like or Batman animated series or Batman Brave and the Bold. I could watch so many other things, and I have that at the fucking at my the tips of my fingers. I almost said the palms of my fingers. The tips of my fingers. You have so much content on
You have
Max
palms on
alone.
your
Not
fingers?
even on
No.
Max. You can fucking pirate shit. You can ride the high seas with a bottle of Captain Morgan and have the world as your oyster in terms of anything you can watch. And it's with that much content, you gotta have things that you gotta wet their whistles. You gotta like give them something. And sometimes what looks like, at least to me and to Dan, this looks like a great show that's gonna build the worlds that a lot of people liked in the Batman, featuring a great actor, a great cast in general, a really intriguing story that's been done before, but seems like it's doing something a little bit new with it. But sometimes that's just not enough. Sometimes people just want to see the Batman. And if they're not getting that, then they'll go somewhere else. They'll like, okay, fine.
I know what you did
I
there.
don't want to
I see
watch
what you
this.
did
Then,
there.
um, but yeah, I
Didn't go over
think,
my head.
um, it's
But
just
yes.
like I mean, I don't think I'm wrong there, and like you got to be very careful with like what you say because they're like immediately one thing it's gonna be Joker Folie Do. Oh, it's gonna be musical. Nope, exactly. Like people want, and I would say,
Well,
guys, we're reviewing
it's
the season finale this Thursday, so please catch up on
please
Kite
check
Man
in.
before we review that last
Yeah.
episode. Anyway, but yeah, I just that's my piece on that. Like people will find any excuse not to watch something with how much content we have now,
Yeah.
even something that looks as good as this. So
I mean,
you know
look,
what? You got to say the right things, and I feel like Matt Reeves really dropped a fucking nuke on a lot of people that are be like, well,
yeah.
I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's been this situation where of late, I think James Gunn has sort of pulled it back, but maybe because he's too busy. But just you gotta have a PR team that says we can let this go, but we can't let this go. Like you
Right.
can't let all the pieces of information out there because it's counter to
Oh,
your
yeah.
ability to promote the show, or a movie, whatever it is you're working to promote. And whether you're talking about if Batman is going to show up in a show that is a spin-off of the Batman, or if it is confirming or denying some kind of casting rumor, right? Like Josh Brolin related, we have not seen anything from James Gunn confirming or denying whether Josh Brolin is in consideration for Hal Jordan or not.
Nope.
But as far as this goes, again, I think it's a bit of a miscalculation here to say, oh yeah, I want to rip the band-aid off. And I know Antonio, for example, you said that, hey, people are going to watch this TV show because it's from a renowned showrunner and it's part of the Batman universe. You still have Colin Farrell, who is no joke, by the way. He is one of the
He's the
best
Penguin,
actors in
not the
Hollywood
Joker.
today. He's the exactly.
Sorry,
So
I had to
like
explain.
the guy has, he can pull it up. I think there's a lot of people who are gonna want to see him chew up the scenery. I certainly would. So yes, I do understand that there's a lot of people who are still gonna watch it, but then of course there are the people like Cowabunga who's like, you know what? If there's no Batman, then there's no reason for me to stick around and watch this. It's kind
Exactly.
of similar to how I think for me, my reaction when that Gotham show on Fox came out. I was like, are we gonna get Batman in this at any point in time? And this straight up said we're not gonna have Batman. Like they were like pretty
Well,
clear
they
about
had him in
that.
the last episode in the worst fucking
But you know
costume
what I mean? Like
imaginable. But yeah, yeah.
yeah, but like the show for the majority of his runtime.
But at
Oh
least
yeah, there's a
here's the thing.
young Bruce
At least
Wayne.
Gotham had Bruce Wayne. Like you still had that. I mean, I know that's not Batman,
Yeah,
but it's still something more than this does.
but
But it's just like I don't
still,
know. That's how I'm
you know,
seeing
it's
it.
I think all in all, it does make you wonder, like, was it the best choice? I think it in a situation like this, you got to err on the side of caution and be like, you know what, just you're gonna have to watch the show to find out, and leave it at that. Because
Yeah,
if you just go out there and say, oh yeah, he's not gonna be in there, I'm ripping the band-aid off now, you're already gonna tune out a lot of people who are not gonna care anymore.
yeah.
But
James
then
Gunn, I
again,
feel
who
like is
knows?
a master at
It's
this now.
yeah,
Like Matt Reeves, yes, he's been around for a while, and he's directed a couple really great blockbusters with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. But like in terms of like the superhero age, like James Gunn has been a part of this since a decade now. Guardians
yeah.
came out in 2014, and even then, he's made a lot of mistakes, but like he was, I agree with that, and that was
I
what.
think Zoe Kravitz is definitely gonna get a spinoff. By the way, Antonio, like at this point,
Oh yeah,
knowing what their intentions are with the franchise, the fact that they just said she's going off to a different city to do her own thing, that's like ripe for a TV show, if not an entire
that's what
movie
happened
series.
when the
So
fucking wedding in the comics was called off, which was like Tom. Don't get me
yeah,
started on that, but
no, 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 no.
it's just like that was one of the but Catwoman eventually got her own book after she,
Yeah.
walked out on the wedding because of insert bullshit reason here. And then
Yeah.
did her own thing. And I'm like, that just makes sense. That feels like a very comic book thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this major event happened. Well, now we're gonna have a spin-off of a different book, or in this case, a different movie or a show. So yeah, I just feel like James Gunn knows what to say, knows what not to say, even or he just has the greatest fucking PR team in the history of the universe and is just excellent at like teasing the right things, saying the right things, not saying certain things. And he's like that's what it kind of what it feels like. It feels like an unbiased opinion about something. Like how like everyone says like about the news nowadays, like how rarely it's about, oh, here's something that happened, you take away what you take away. Now it's just like, oh, you watch a certain political side from this organization, or you watch a certain political side from this organization, or it's like the news doesn't feel biased anymore. I feel like James Gunn almost like kind of understands that, but this time with like news in regards to um like his superhero projects, is this superhero world. He knows what to say. He was under the Marvel machine for almost a decade. He understands learning from probably Kevin Feige, learning from all the people around him, the other directors, the other writers he's worked with, the people. So he knows the right things, and even then he like presents something and boom, that's it. It's like, I'm presenting you with something, and the only time he'll give like major confirmation if it's like a totally bogus rumor or like Grace Randolph is being a moron. So
Yeah.
it like that's what I feel like he
Yeah,
does.
definitely. Yeah.
um
I mean,
as
but
James Gunn
yeah.
loved to say, the earth revolves around the sun, parents love their children, Grace Randolph spouts bullshit. That is my favorite James Gunn quote, and I will stick with that. And but yeah, I think that's how he really does it. Like he gives like an unbiased thing. Like I remember like um where we were joking around with the lanterns thing, where they're like, "Oh, are you casting now or are you in pre-production?" And he doesn't fucking answer anything. He's just like, "You do casting in pre-production," and then that's it. Like he doesn't give any confirmation like about the casting, about pre-production, whether pre-production started. No, that was like the most perfect answer you could possibly give by answering the question but also not answering the question at all. So like that's what he does. That's what he's so good at. And I feel like Matt Reeves in the comic book world, in the superhero world, needs to understand that too. Because I think he majorly fumbled with this. I think he definitely screwed the pooch majorly. And don't get me wrong, you're still going to have a lot of people that are really excited for this. But with a lot of things on the line for DC right now, because Zaslav is looking to fucking throw a lot of things in the garbage right now, you can't fuck up and you can't fuck up
I
majorly. And I
it's
think Reeves
yeah.
kind of did. Maybe not majorly, but almost majorly, I think. Personally. That's just again my personal opinion. If
It's
feel free to
yeah.
disagree, audience, you or the audience.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
yeah, no, I think it's James Gunn is great at that, but of course, Matt Reeves on the other hand, I don't think saying it before the show comes out is the best idea. Keep going to the wrong post. Here we go. So yeah, Rob is not going to be in this show. I'd rather take the band-aid off now. You could have just let that sit and let people kind of figure that out on their own.
Hmm.
I do think you could have put that out there maybe once the show started airing, but to
Hmm.
do that this early is maybe not the best idea. Speaking of, well, of course, what I did, I sent you this picture. It's just kind of funny watching this. I'm like, all right, the Penguin is riding the rails in Gotham. I'm like, it really shows that the guy starts at the very bottom and has to work its way up. Like, right? Like, his at the end of the Batman, it almost feels like the Penguin because the events of how Falcone gets taken down. You'd
Hmm.
imagine the crime family almost blames him for it. So whatever status he had gained, he might have lost in that process.
Yeah.
Plus, the entire Gotham Police Department showed up to his doorstep, at an establishment which is meant to be a safe haven for a lot of the criminals of Gotham.
Hmm.
So he's really starting at the bottom now, in a way that perhaps he's probably moved down a notch at the end of
It
the
yeah,
of the
it
movie.
reflects what Gotham is now. I think that was
Exactly.
intentional. It's like
Yeah.
he's at the bottom, and just like how Gotham is at the bottom, and they need to
Yeah.
rebuild after what the Riddler did. So
Exactly.
that's definitely intentional. That's definitely, what the aim was to reflect that in the I guess it would be the mise en scène, but I don't know if that's the proper term for it, but like kind of reflecting
Yeah,
the
the visuals of it.
parallels.
And yeah, I mean, and to that end, Matt Reeves, this is a new sneak peek clip that they've released today,
Hmm.
which you can go find out on YouTube, on the Max channel. If you just search for "Welcome to the Penguin," you'll find it. And Matt Reeves kind of talks about what his intention was in this show in terms of showing the two different sides, a dichotomy of Gotham, where you've
Hmm.
got the rich upper class and then you've got the people who are struggling to make ends meet every day. And this is
Right.
something that has been playing, or it was playing for that one day that the Batman was back in theaters. If you went to see it, you'd have gotten this 5 minute video before that. And now they've put it out online. So it wasn't exclusive for a little while. Now you really get to see a little bit more of the behind the scenes of not only how they shot the show, but you get to see Colin Farrell, you get to see Matt Reeves talk about his intentions with the show and how he sees the character of the Penguin and his rise to power, what he has to do. And again, just more quotes from the Penguin talking about how, the world would ideally work a certain way, but it just doesn't work that way, and therefore you got to do what you got to do to, it's basically the Penguin says Oswald says it's not a good world for the honest man. So you gotta you gotta like do the deeds or whatever to make ends meet and grab the power for yourself. What did you think about this sneak peek? Did this give you any more of a sense of anticipation for what we were about to see? Because to me, what stood out the most of what was just how Matt Reeves is characterizing Gotham in this show. And again, we're getting to see the underbelly of Gotham through
Hmm.
not only this new series of movies that Matt Reeves is working on, but also the show in a way that not even Christopher Nolan explored in his realistic version of the Dark Knight
Hmm.
trilogy, where you got to see a little bit of it, but largely this stayed, in the more highbrow superheroing aspect of it, and
Hmm.
and and it was big screen filmmaking. Whereas here, it seems like really, you're seeing Penguin like freaking taking out the trash. It's just you're just getting the
Or going through
subway
like a
where
broken
it
subway.
looks
Yeah.
so like in disrepair. It just goes to show you a side of Gotham that we really have not seen before in live action. Because
Yeah.
even in the Schumacher movies, even in the Tim Burton movies, even when the Penguin was hanging out in the
Because you can
gutter,
really show
like
that in a movie about Batman. This
yeah,
isn't about Batman. This is about the world
yeah,
and this specific
exactly,
character. So I think that that's what they're
yeah.
they're going to be doing, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's just going it's making you relate to the world of the show in a way. Like I can walk into this show and feel like I haven't walked out of the world that I live in on a day-to-day basis, right?
mhm,
Unlike what we're going to get from the DCU, which is going to be a little more fantastical and removed from what we're doing every day. Whereas I think here you're starting to see something that is feels again very much close to home. It hits close to home and what you're looking for in a TV show that is going to ground itself in reality that we can relate to, much like the movie did. I
mhm,
think this show is again just goes to show you how they're staying true to the identity of the Batman movie. And this character will very much not just step into this TV show from the first film, but the Penguin is going to be in the second film, and you can clearly see visually, narratively how all the pieces will fit. But
mhm.
also in this teaser, they again emphasize the Falcone family's role in this. Are you starting to get a sense that there's going to be more of a power struggle here? Because Matt Reeves really talks about how between his two kids, who Carmine Falcone would have liked to have run the city, whereas who has ended up in charge in a way, and you can then start to really see what Christian Miliotti's Sofia Falcone, how her
Yeah.
character fits into the puzzle. What are your thoughts on again just kind of reinforcing the idea of there's going to be this power struggle and there's multiple parties kind of in there for their own interests, but maybe for temporarily their interests align, even though in the long term they may not be, they may be enemies. Like
Right.
how do you
Yeah.
think that dynamic is going to work out?
I have no fucking idea, and that's what I'm excited for. Like, I have no fucking clue what to expect, and I kind of don't want to try and figure it out. I just
Yeah,
want to watch the show and have it shown to me. Like, I don't want to try and figure it out. I just want to see what Reeves and LaFranc, I think Lauren LaFranc, I think that's her name,
right.
has in mind. And I'm gonna try not to think about it. I just want to see how the fuck this is gonna go down, and I'm really curious and really intrigued, and I want to keep it up because I want to. Because sometimes a lot of the time, I overthink things. But I'm like, you know what? Let me not overthink this. Let me just see what he's trying to do, and I want to keep it at that. Maybe
Yeah,
that's just me being lazy and not giving up a fucking proper response for that. But like that's like I spent a little bit of time figuring. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to think about this. I just want to fucking watch it, see what Reeves has in store for me, what LaFranc has in store for me. So that's how I see it.
yeah. Yeah, and I love the way she talks about Gotham. You can really tell that she's very much got the same perspective on this world that Matt Reeves does. So it's gonna feel like a natural extension of the movie. In fact, like you said, this is a bridge between two Batman films, and it's meant to be something where you're gonna be able to watch the first movie, watch the TV show, and then go watch the second movie, and it's gonna feel like one seamless story that's being told. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and also the one new character in this show that isn't necessarily explored too much in the comics that LeFranc talks about this in the teaser is Oswald Cobblepot's mom. This character, the way
Yeah,
she's sort of driving him and part of his
yeah, because that's
motivation.
that's not a character that's really been showcased that much because in the
Yeah.
comics his parents gave him up because
Hmm.
in the comics he was more disfigured. So they're like, oh
Right.
god. But
Yeah.
essentially what happened in Batman Returns where they're like, oh
In the
my god,
Tim
throw it in
Burton
a
movie.
river. And
Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman throwing his son in a river. Anyway, I just threw my newborn son into a river. Anyway. Um so I yeah, I'm kind of curious about that, but like not as curious with like a lot of other things. I'm curious. I'm definitely curious about the Maronies. That's what I want to see. I want to see how the Maronies fit into all of this.
Hmm.
So how that's because from what I saw, it was like Clancy Brown who plays Sal Maroni. He was an informant. He essentially got time. I believe time off a sentence for giving up people, kind of like what Henry Hill did uh, at the end of Goodfellas, Ray Liotta's character. That's what happened with that. So that's kind of the vibe he's giving off a little bit. So I'm like, I'm curious how that's gonna go.
Yeah.
So we'll see there. So
It just yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, it reminds me of a lot of those Martin Scorsese movies. It literally feels like an
mhm.
extension of something like Sopranos or Goodfellas or something, but at the same time, it very much feels like again, it's part of the world of the Batman. And again, you're getting to see more of the behind the scenes of like Renzi Felice's character. You get the Christian Miliotti's character. You're starting to get again more of a sense of the psyche of these characters and where they see themselves in the city and the power struggle that's about to happen. Because as Lefranc says, there's a power grab that is about to happen, and Penguin sees there's an opportunity for him, and yet nobody's going to hand it to him. He's going to have to fight for this. So, my question to you is: do you feel like this show is setting up the Penguin to be like the crime lord of Gotham by the time we get to the second movie, or are
I
we
hope
still
so.
going to get to? I mean, is the Penguin going to last beyond? Because at that point, do you think the Penguin is the main antagonist of the second film, or do you think the Penguin is going to be around for a while longer?
I don't want to see like the fall happen so quickly.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. Yeah, I don't want to see that happen so quickly because I feel like there's a lot of room there. I don't want him to be like on the top just yet when, you know, like when the Batman Part 2 hits. Like maybe he has a little bit more to do in the background where he's like has a little bit more to grab so there's still more of a story to tell. Maybe in the background of the Batman Part 2, maybe like I don't know. I don't want him to be a villain because we've seen so much of this character. But Matt Reeves already confirmed that he's gonna appear in part two. So I'd like to see like kind of similar with what Sophia Falcone and Colin Farrell are doing here, where they're teaming up for the time being, and we're gonna, you know, get like what are we gonna get here? So I'm thinking that it's not gonna be that maybe, like, the first half of the story and, like, maybe it goes into Batman Part 3, 'cause I feel like this adaptation needs to be a two-part story, is, like, Batman and Penguin teaming up against the Court of Owls. Like, that could
Oh,
be an
okay.
intriguing thing
I
because
mean,
that's
Matt
what a
Reeves
lot
kind
of
of hinted
people.
at that recently,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like
what
you,
Matt Reeves theorized. That's what
yeah.
people have been theorizing about what Matt Reeves said. Sorry, I combined my 2 thoughts there. And so people like, oh, it's going to go further into corruption, further into, the Gotham underbelly. And I'm like, people were like, Court of Owls. So I don't want it to just be Court of Owls. Like, I want it to be like proper investigation and what we're like really uncovering stuff. Maybe have like Lincoln March in the background who is Talon, I believe. Like he's like the biggest, he's like a watcher in the shadows kind of thing. And like he's like starting to like kill people because it's like with how Gotham is left in shambles, maybe Court of Owls is like trying to pick up the pieces of Gotham because they've been like around for centuries and all that. So they're like trying to, really get um like get Gotham in order, like what it was, and like Penguin it doesn't know about this, Batman doesn't know about this, so they're like, okay, let's really, all right, your power and my power, we gotta figure this out. So that's what I think could happen, but like I just don't want Penguin to be a bad guy. I don't want him to be a necessarily be a good guy either. I want him to stay a bad guy. I just don't want him to be the antagonist because I feel like we are getting so much of this character that I think that he shouldn't
Like
be a straight up
that's and I agree with you
villain
there
yet.
because what I don't want to see happen is sort of like what happened with Loki, where they were like, we need to redeem him as a
Yeah,
hero of some
no,
kind. I'm like,
that's fucking
the
yeah, and they
Penguin
did that
can.
because of all the
It's
fangirls that wanted to fuck Tom Hiddleston. That was essentially why they did that. All right, so you know,
but like Oswald Cobblepot could be a cautionary tale, right?
mm,
In a way where it seems like almost he's almost aware of it himself, and yet he idolizes people like that he grew up around, like these other mob bosses. That he's like, you know what, I want to be remembered like one of those people.
right.
And he sort of maybe just skips past the the end that those people met. Um, and it's probably because of he's informed by this idea that hey, the world that we live in is not for easy one for an honest, like you can't make an honest living, like you gotta do what you gotta do to survive and move up in the world. And so he's obviously got this tilted moral compass, this jilted moral compass. And so at the end when he's finally gets taken down, I hope it kind of becomes more of that cautionary tale, and we get to explore this character more fully than perhaps you've ever done before, right? And I
Right.
also want to see some of these other characters sort of grow, like beyond that, Renzi Felice's character, of course, Christian Miliotti's character. It seems like it's the trio here that's going to be on screen the most. Even though you've got like Michael Kelly, Shohreh Aghdashloo, like you've got a lot of these other fantastic actors, both from the world of television and film, entering the world of the Batman, and who knows which of them will end up being a part of the Court of Owls, or if they're gonna end up just being a one-off appearance in this show.
Hmm.
But all in all, the Penguin coming out September 19. It's only 10 days away. It's going to debut at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can see it on HBO, and then later on you can check it out on Max, or I believe it's going to air at the same time on both. And then they're going to keep airing it on HBO if you have HBO and you have cable. If you have Max, you can just go back and watch it on there. I personally am very excited for it, John. I know you are too at this point. They've just kind of, you know, they've kept on putting out these new bits of information, and each time they put out something new, it's even more and more exciting. And I'm also excited to see again how Peacemaker carries the story forward from where Superman leaves it off next year.
Hmm.
With that said, John, as always, it's been a pleasure. Another great episode of DCU Daily tomorrow. If you guys are watching us and you want to find out what we think about the news that Spider-Man 4 has found a director, and that director is Destin Daniel Cretton, then come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We have got an Also Curious show alongside DCU Daily, where we're going to get into the news of Spider-Man 4. We're also going to remember the career and life of the great James Earl Jones, who passed away today at the age of 93. And we're going to review Beetlejuice, and of course, the latest news from the world of Hollywood as well as the world of DC. Anything that James Gunn has, any more news from the world of the Penguin, the Batman, Joker Folie Do, Superman. We're going to get into all that, so much more. And of course, DCU Daily is live from Monday through Friday. And you can check us out on Also Curious. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you have, then of course hit the like button, because that helps us out with the YouTube gods of the algorithm. And if you have subscribed and if you had hit the like button, then make sure you hit the notification button as well, because that way you know when we go live. Because we don't really go live at the same time every day. We're working on it. We're gonna get there. But until then, that's your best way to find out when we are live. So we appreciate you guys joining us as always. John, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you back on the show tomorrow. We're going to talk about Spider-Man 4, James Earl Jones, Beetlejuice. We're going to get into more of the Joker 2, the Penguin, looking ahead to Kite Man season finale. We have so much more. Harley Quinn has a new season starting out on HBO later this year, which John is going to roll his eyes to, I'm sure. But there's so much more beyond that. Of course, we also have a Superman coming up in less than a year's time. Who knows when we're going to get a new teaser or some kind of inside look at that. Peacemaker, of course, we're getting more and more details for that too, so maybe we'll get some more of that as well. But until then, John, it's been a pleasure. And everybody watching, thanks so much again. We'll see you here tomorrow on another episode of DCU Daily.